It's another episode of the Charity Lounge, and today on the podcast, we are stepping into a world where trash truly becomes treasure. My guest today is someone who didn't just see the problem, but then she built a solution, an ecosystem around solving that problem. And today I have someone you would say I'm saying I have someone very interesting in the room, because I always do have interesting people in the room. Today I have someone who isn't just an interesting person, but she is smart. Like, she thinks without the box, not outside the box. She turns vehicle tires, into good product. So welcome Ifedolapo Runsewe. She's the founder and CEO of Free Recycle. Hi, Dolapo.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I can now finally say I've broken my no podcast streak. So I'm really excited to be here. Yeah.
We made that happen.
Me. Yes.
I know we were meant to make this happen in Lagos.
And then Lagos happened.
Exactly. Lagos happened. It never happened. This has been recorded in London, finally. Yeah. Hi, Dolapo. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you very much for coming all the way. It's so nice to have you. And I'm so looking forward to our conversation today. Tell us about you. Like, who are you? And I'm not talking about the LinkedIn version. I'm talking about the real version of Mrs. Ifedolapo Runsewe.
That's a tough one, because I think over time who we are kind of evolves. But I think one thing that is constant for me is family. I grew up in a very close-knit family, so that for me is it's like the backbone, the foundation of who I am. I'm actually a pretty boring person as well. I'm an introvert. I can also be a bit socially awkward, but aside from all that, I'd say, I'm just a regular person, just like every other person.
Everyone says they're regular.
But I am actually, because if I'm not working, what am I doing? I'm basically on the couch watching TV or on my phone. That's just it.
So what lit the fire in you? And now, maybe I shouldn't ask that first. You used to work in banking. You used to wear suits and all the pretty skirts or pants. But then you went from banking suits to tires. Tires are dirty. Like, I can't really place both side by side. How did you get there? The transition?
So you know what's funny? You will still catch me in a suit, even though now I'm doing something very different from what I'd done for more than 10 years in the banking sector. But I think my background in the banking sector prepared me for what I currently do, in terms of having structure, trying to understand how a business should operate from start to finish. My background in banking actually prepared me for that. But it was actually from the banking sector that I started looking at waste differently. So I was in operations, but then we got to volunteer in different initiatives and different activities. And for me, it was sustainability. And then, grudgingly, we would go to the HQ on weekends, sometimes for a workshop or something. Initially, I hated it because weekends were if you have any friend that works in banking sector, they will tell you how. And I walked in the ones where we were broken on beds. Let me just stop there. So, and so I would grudgingly go. But after a while, I actually started understanding, it's not, you start to see waste differently as a consumer. It's very easy to see things you use and you dispose. But when you get to interact with people in that space, you start to see things in a different light. And that was where it started from. And then fast forward a year or two later, we would go into Unilag in Lagos to walk on Saturdays, and I would complain they're burning tires because they have a spot there where they stockpile tires. And my husband is the kind of person that he doesn't want excuses. He doesn't want you to complain. He would say, do you have a solution? I'm tired of hearing you go on and on about it. And so, that was where the whole interest sparked. And just started looking into it, like, what else can we do with tires?
Oh, wow.
People were already upcycling, making furniture, but I didn't want to do that. Because interestingly, when we were researching about it, we realized that, tires are one of those wastes where every part of it has value, from the rubber to the steel to the fiber. So yeah, that's pretty much where it started from. And here we are today, almost 5 years after.
Okay, so you're in Nigeria, is it West Africa or Nigeria? You're the first.
West Africa, Nigeria, West Africa.
And the biggest.
Yes.
Wow. Oh, wow. Yeah. And this, it's funny how little things, just from going on your company visits to do CSR, you picked. I'm sure a lot of people did the same thing, and then they never looked back. They didn't even notice. They didn't take note of the things you took note of. And you've turned that around. You've not just turned it around, but you've made something big out of it. Because for me, yes, you're burning tires. I can complain and say, oh, this thing is smelling. I don't like it. And then I look away. And what I know is common, what I've seen a lot, is people recycling PET bottles, cans. Do they cans and the likes. But tires. And how did you get to... So tell us what you make out of those things, because you said you've seen a lot of upcycling, which I've seen as well. I used to plan events in Nigeria and do decor, and we used to use them for some designs, yes. But moving away from all those things to what you do. First, tell us what you do with tires, because I'm sure the viewers are interested in knowing exactly what you do with tires and how is there a prototype? Or how did you come about that? Maybe my mind is small because I said in the beginning that you thought without the box.
Yeah. So interestingly, I mean, I say this quite often. You don't have to, when it comes to innovation, you don't have to do things from scratch. You can take an existing technology, an idea from somewhere else, adapt it to your environment and make it work, and then get a solution out of it. So we run a zero waste granulation system, and that what basically means is with equipment that we've gotten from Europe and Asia, we shred the tires into bits. We take out the rubber, we take out the steel, and we take out the fiber. From inception, the rubber was predominantly what we worked with. It was just a simple process of remolding the rubber in addition to an adhesive and then color pigment depending on the color of the product that we want to make. So we remold back, and then you have your gym flooring, you have your playground solution, you have insulation materials, you have transportation flooring, and then quite recently we started making backpacks, and you reviewed one of that recently. Thank you very much for that.
Beautiful. I'll show you one before we end this.
And then even footwears as well, flip-flops, school sandals. We use that a lot we use that predominantly for CSR in partnership with some other organizations that we work with. And then for the steel, at the beginning, we weren't really doing much with the steel. We had interest for the steel from across Europe and then Asia, but due to some laws and policies in place in Nigeria, we couldn't export them, as it were. So we needed to add value by melting them and into like bricks of sorts. So we had to invest in a steel smelting plant, which weirdly enough isn't running just yet, but hopefully by 2026 we should have it up and running. And then the fiber from the tires, so when I say it's a zero waste process, it means every bit of the tire we extract value from them. So the fiber goes to a cement manufacturer who uses it for energy in their cement manufacturing process.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So how do you source these tires? Because growing up, I remember seeing tires everywhere, and I remember seeing people. I don't think I did that, but I remember seeing children running around and,
running them,
makeshift toys. How do you source tires? Are they things you still see around, thrown everywhere, or how?
So before we commenced operations, we realized that we needed to have a feedstock of the tires. That was 2018, late 2018, 2019. So we put together a program where we kind of encouraged people, the factories in Ibadan, to say, instead of just burning your tires or dumping them in drainages, and then during raining season, the old streets are flooded, or just leaving them on the dump site, you can bring them in. We'll pay you an amount for the tires. But the people we're really targeting really were those that were burning the tires, because that was what we were trying to stop. From the burning, you have your greenhouse emissions, you have your CO2 emissions, and that's the problem we're trying to fix, right? So at the time, I think we're paying about 65 naira, 70 naira for passenger car tires.
So let me convert that into pounds. So 70 naira is actually, if I'm not wrong, is actually less than a pence, or it's a penny or 2 pence.
Penny, thereabout. Yeah, that's what we're paying back then.
Wow.
And so another thing is, yes, prevent the burning of the tires, but there's also the direct impact on people as well.
Yeah.
Why are they burning those tires? We also realized that they were burning the tires to access the steel in the tire.
Wow.
And for someone who relies on that to put food on the table, you can't just come out of nowhere and say, oh, we're burning up tires. You will fix one problem, but for us, as a triple bottom line, you have the people, you have the environment, and you also have profits. You can't take care of one and then ignore the other. So you can care for the environment as much as you want. If the people are not being taken care of, it would eventually impact on the environment and then your bottom line. So that was one of the reasons why we actually started that program, and then we were paying for the tires. But it's in an ideal situation, that shouldn't be the case. We shouldn't be paying for those tires. Instead, we should be paid to recycle those tires. But that's what we spent the first 3 years of business doing, and then eventually we realized that it wasn't sustainable. We had very little support in terms of let me not go into that, but
just
our
surface level.
Yeah, our sector is the green sector is relatively new in Nigeria.
Yeah.
And there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. But I do need to, it's important that I stress that we've actually made a lot of strides in the past 3 to 4 years. But, at the beginning, it was a struggle for us. Things are getting better now. We're beginning to get the desired attention and input from the government. But at some point, we had to put a stop to the purchase of tires, and then we shifted our focus to the corporates.
Okay.
With the corporates, we still actually found a way to still directly impact on people. So we will have corporates who actually generate tires across their value chain.
Yeah.
And they were willing to bring the tires to us and pay us to recycle the tires.
Oh, nice.
That was fantastic. But then we also had corporates who said, we're not generating tires directly. However, we are willing to fund you to fund collectors, waste pickers, right? So they, one of them was Access Bank in Nigeria, and then so they said, okay, you need to work with collectors who collect those tires, and then let's see how we can support them to bring the tires in.
Okay.
And then when they bring the tires in, you recycle them, and then produce bags, sandals, and then we can use them for CSR. So
that's beautiful.
So it's not like we entirely ignored the fact that people also need to.
Okay, so the people, the collectors, and you now have the corporates that give the tires, so the collectors, how then do you still buy from them? Do you still pay them, or do you help them start a life? Because if someone is selling tires to make a living, that means they are probably living in poverty, or things are not just good. That's why they're selling tires. So do you just pay them for the tires with what you have in partnership with Access Bank, or do you then empower them to be able to fend for themselves and not sell tires? Because I know that the reason I asked is because I know that you've done some empowerment programs for women. I don't know if that's part of the scheme.
Okay, so we actually we had a couple of women who were part of our aggregators and collectors. There was one Alaja as well that was part of the program. So right now we're not directly buying, but when we have corporate partners who want to support them and are ready to put money on the table to say, okay, if the stars are not coming to you, where are they going to? Also, if they are not bringing the stars to you, how are they fending for their family? So we want to put this down to support and then let them collect, buy the tires off them, and then you recycle them.
Okay.
So yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting. Green.
Yeah.
Like, the planet is suffering. And as much as we can, we need to be friendly to the planet. And for me, this is one of the ways, of the many ways we can be. I also know, so now you've been in Nigeria for how many years now?
We're going into the 5th year of business. We'll be 5 in October.
Wow.
Yeah.
So 5 years in October. And I think last year or so, you also launched in the UK. And for me, when I see you in the papers, I'm like, I know that girl. I know her. And how is that going? Is it the same line of business? Is it, because this is a developed country. I was going to say company. This is a developed country. Nigeria is an emerging economy. So what is your operation like in the UK?
In the UK right now, we have a holding company. We initially also had a limited liability, but we had to put that on hold. So we have a holding company. The holding company's purpose has always been to attract investment and then replicate what we've done successfully in Nigeria across other African countries. So the investment in Nigeria came from the holding company that we have here in the UK. So that's the structure. I consider Nigeria a success story. Even with all the challenges that we've experienced, all the challenges that we've had, I still consider it a success story. We were able to break even in 2024, and it was just I felt relieved, but there is still a lot of work that needs to be done. For the UK, we've had a number of inquiries about whether or not we want to set up here, but we need to be able to make a business case, and also we need to be able to assure investors that they will get returns if we do set up here. We're still very much open. We're keeping all our options open. We'll continue to monitor what it would look like to operate in the UK. We'll continue to monitor it over time. If there's significant interest across Europe, either for semi-finished goods or key partnership or offtake, then we can consider setting up here. But for now, our main operations is in Nigeria.
Okay, interesting. So one of the things that we spoke about the last time we discussed was the fact that people are still not as educated as they should be in terms of collecting tires. So even the corporates are not as, okay, tires, I don't have time, what would you say, or what would you want to say to people watching or people that might come across this video? What interesting thing, what statement of fact would you like to say to tell them, or how would you educate them really? So let's say you had, I'm sure you do pitches every time, but then let's say you had a CEO of a
I'm terrible at pitches.
I don't know, billions of pounds, say to you, oh, I have a company and we have I have a group of companies and we have X number of whatever it is. What do you want us to do for you? What would that be in terms of what you do, recycling?
I'm terrible at pitches.
It's fine. We think we are.
But usually the conversation is usually very tricky and a bit more challenging in Nigeria. We found out that international organizations and international corporates, they are the ones who are more open because they understand, they usually have their ESG framework already in place, and they want to be able to tell stakeholders that we are managing our waste, we're not contributing to further dissemination of the environment, blah, 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 and all that. But usually what I tell people is climate change is not a buzzword. I know that there's been a lot of players that might make it look like, oh, it's just like the in thing right now. But if you look around, times are changing, the environment, it's not what it used to be. I can remember I schooled in Akure. I had my secondary school education in Akure, and I remember vividly from the month of November, it gets really cold. When I mean cold, I mean really cold. Temperature would drop to less than 20, and I'm not exaggerating because I'm from Ekiti as well, and we
Same,
used to
I'm from
go home.
Ekiti too.
And I used to go home when my dad was alive, we used to go home for Christmas, and you would need to sleep with like a proper blanket duvet because it was so cold. But you go now and it's hot.
Yeah.
So there are changes happening, and I think that we need to do more in terms of awareness, how we communicate to people. Whereas we communicate a lot in English and terminologies that the average Nigerian or like the grassroots people don't understand. And it's one of in one of the sessions that we had recently, we said we need to take these communications, we need to break it down in different languages so that people will understand. Believe it or not, people are actually already, even when in terms of recycling, we've been recycling for the longest time, but we just didn't realize that we were recycling. Mm-hmm. You would see our parents do things with milk tin, cookie containers. They are repurposing, they are reusing things, but they don't understand that is actually what we are doing. Which is why the messaging is very, very key. The communication is very, very key. When you begin to point out those things to people, and then even in terms of what our environment looks like when it comes to how we're managing waste. I know that we don't have sufficient infrastructure in place to manage the waste, but there are little things that we can do on our own in terms of how do you dispose of your waste. For over a year now, I would love to not have to use plastic bottles.
Yeah,
but it's hard in Nigeria. It's really, really hard. But then, when you do use those plastic bottles, where do they end up? I collect them separately. It goes to a garden very close to the house where they have like a collection center, and
nice.
They are able to get the bottles out. So it starts from us. How we look at waste.
And I like what you said about language. Like, the grassroots people don't particularly get it when you are speaking English. Like, it doesn't look like you're speaking to them. I remember my nephew, who is now 19, when he used to watch cartoons back then, I remember this song, reduce, reuse, recycle. I think we need to do more of that to educate even from very little. For me, I don't think I have a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old. And for me, I teach them things. I see what they watch. Nobody is too young to learn. So it's from there. It's the habit that they take from very little that they grow with, and then it becomes a part and parcel of them. So are you working on anything in terms of doing grassroots would I call it training, sensitization?
Yeah, we have a number of we've done several engagements like that in our local community in Ibadan, and we also work with strategic partners as well. We've been involved in a lot of programs with the Office of Climate Change and Circular Economy in Lagos. We also have a number of things that we have in the works with the federal government, with one of their NGOs, rural women. I have to go.
You have to read it.
I have to, so that I say the right things, but basically we understand the importance of reaching the grassroots people, how we communicate, the key messaging and whatnot. So there are a number of programs. We've done several of them in Ibadan actually, and not just the awareness, but also getting them to be involved. Because one thing is communicating and telling them that this is what you need to do, but how do we get them involved?
So they're owners as well.
Oh, exactly. And the reception has been quite good. We did a number of things with the Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Inclusion in Oyo State as well, just to educate. And during global days like the World Earth Day, and we try as much as possible to have sessions around this, to reach people and ensure that they understand how important it is that we take care of our environment, and in turn our environment will take care of us.
Absolutely. Well done. Like, you are a ball of wonders, because I'm just thinking in my head, how do you manage all of these things? You're a mom, you're a wife, and you do this big work, because it's not small work. You're going for conferences, you still have to hold the home front. Like, Well done to you.
Thank you.
Super well done. So I think very wide and wild. So there was wild and wide. So there was an exhibition I attended, and it was a packaging exhibition. I think I mentioned it when we spoke. It was a packaging exhibition, and I saw this company that they do recycle, but they collect waste from different parts of the world, and then they do the whole processing. Then they turn it into very small bites, and then they transport from wherever. I don't know how they do the whole. If someone was in Gambia, for example, maybe you had a plant in Gambia, you have in Ghana, you have in Sierra Leone, and they have tires in tons. I don't know. How would you get the tires? Would you set up a plant there, or would you find a way to crunch the tires? Because I don't know your terms. That's why I'm saying crunch the tires, and then ship to Nigeria to then process.
Okay, so the ideal thing would be to set up multiple crushing sites. So because of
Crush, not crunch.
yes.
Crush.
So because of the sizes of the tires, you don't want to, we're very careful with our CO2 footprints. Hence why even in Nigeria at the moment, we're only collecting tires from about 3 to 4 states.
Okay.
We have requests. Occasionally we get requests from Kano, from Kaduna, from Onitsha to say we have this number of tons of tires. Can we get them down to you? But one, CO2 footprint. 2, the cost of actually moving the tires because of their sizes, it costs a lot.
Heavy.
So we don't encourage that. One of our model that we actually developed at the beginning of starting for recycle was to say have multiple crushing sites. You can have one product in one manufacturing, because the system we want right now is an integrated recycling and manufacturing. You have companies here, even here in the UK, that do just the recycling bits, right? The steel can go to an off-taker who needs it for in their own operation. The fiber can go to whosoever. The rubber as well has its users in that semi-finished state, so they do mostly that. So if we're going to do that, if you have tires in different countries, it would make more sense to say crush in that location. Even in that semi-finished space, it's still commercially viable instead of moving the tires all across.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Well done, Dolapo.
Thank you.
So let's now talk about already what you do is ESG. For me, it's corporate social responsibility already. By itself, it says you're socially responsible, and you do extra CSR as well. Can you tell us about your CSR projects?
Yes. So in 2023, we actually incorporated our foundation, the Free Impact Foundation, and our focus is on environment, education, health. And even before then, actually, funny thing is, as far back as 2018, we were already doing a lot in the education sector. So my mom retired from the education sector. She was in the classroom for more than 20 years before she then became an inspector. And I remember occasionally when, we're talking, she would say, oh, when I get my salary, I have to set aside this amount. And we're like, why? She said, because there will always be a child that comes to class without books, without pencils, without lunch, without sandals. So this particular amount of my salary goes to this. So after she retired in 2017, I think early 2018, my husband was just like, you know what, maybe there actually is still more that we can do. How about we start something and maybe start with 50 kids. She had a good relationship with old colleagues that were still, working. So we worked with the head of schools and the class teachers to say, identify kids that are either, orphans or, just from underserved communities in your classrooms. And let's see. So it's there with uniforms, sandals and bags. That was as far back as 2017. So it was really easy then in 2022, 2023 to say, okay, let's also have a foundation for free recycle. Yes, people know us as, we're recycling, we're doing good for the environment, but there's also the people aspect of it, which we cannot we must, So we started that, and focus was on the education sector, but of course we also had our eco ambassadors who, one thing I say is it's very difficult talking to someone that is hungry about the environment. But when there's food in their belly, then you can say, okay, please, let's talk about this. You can't burn this. So it was a way of killing two birds with one stone. You encourage the kids to come to school by providing basic school supplies. And you'll be amazed at how much impact this has on their morale in terms of wanting to come to school.
Absolutely.
You have a new uniform. Of course, you want to come and, show it off. So we started with that. And then we started strapping on small programs to educate the kids. We also have we bring some pupils from public schools to the facility on excursion fully funded by us. We give them a tour and they go back with goodie bags and whatnot. So we've been doing that, but now we are also developing new programs as well for women, particularly to empower, because there's only as much as you can give. You need to have a system in place in which, how do I put it? When you give, right? If you're not careful,
giving them fish.
You keep giving and giving. But how do you ensure that this person are able to take care of themselves? Women, when it comes to even climate change, they are usually the most affected. This is not me, it's data from UN, WHO, and whatnot. So empower women, create programs to empower them. And now we have a new recycling project coming on, which is for aerosol cans. And with that as well, the focus is mainly on women, because we're going to be recycling the cans, extracting clean cooking gas from it as well, and then putting a system in place where they can also retail this, and sell and support their family, collect these cans as well, bring them to us, pay them for the cans as well. And then that way you realize that, you're creating a system that can pay itself forward.
Sustainable.
Yeah, it's sustainable. Yeah.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you.
Well done, Dolapo. So people that would want to be a part of this. Now, I know you run a company. It's a business. It's a social enterprise. But people that might want to, I want to know more. I could, be of help here. How do they get in touch with you?
Oh, okay. So we're always very open to anyone that has other ideas in which we can scale up our current impact and do more and do better. We're very, very active on Instagram. You can check us out on at free recycle, free EEE on Instagram. We're also very active on LinkedIn as well. You can connect directly with me. I'm a bit active on LinkedIn as well. Or you can check out our website, www.free-recycle.com/ng. If you also do free-recycle.com, it also brings you to our holding company here in the UK.
I think one last question is, looking at your journey from where you started, in fact, from Akure, did you go to the Federal Government Girls?
St. Matthias Anglican High School.
Oh, okay. So if you look back from that time till now, of course, a lot has happened. You're not the same girl. What would you say to your younger self?
I would tell her not to worry too much. Things have a way of working out. Just keep an open mind. Because I think I worried too much about acceptance, fitting in, and then I look back now and I'm like, please don't accept me. I don't want to fit in. I want to just stay at home. Thank you.
To be me.
So yeah, I mean, don't worry too much. Things have a way of working out, and eventually.
Yeah, and I think things have a way of working out. Don't worry too much. You haven't just left it that way. You've worked towards it as well. You've been very hardworking and intentional about. And
I've also been blessed to have the right support and the right people around me. I say this whenever I get the opportunity. I think also marrying the right person is really important. Someone that supports what you're doing, someone that pushes you. Yeah. Because I'm sure if my husband probably hadn't said, "Oh, stop complaining. Why not look into what you can do. Maybe I would probably have just gone on complaining. And then even through, because he's in corporate finance and financial advisory, so even through all the entire process of trying to set up the business, raising funding for the business, it pretty much held my hand and put a team in place to assist. And even till now, honestly,
it's a case of iron sharpening iron.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. So I think it's allowed me to, the success we've had today, having that support system in addition to the work that you put in, because you can have that system if you don't put in the work, things won't just happen.
So we have a fire round that we normally do, and you don't need to think too much about it. I'm
not a fast thinker.
Well, that's the thing. You don't need to think about it. Okay. Yeah, it's simple. So, one answer, one word, not too long sentences. Okay. So, coffee or tea?
Tea.
Early mornings or late nights?
Late nights.
So, what's your favorite Nigerian street food?
Akara. Yeah.
Okay. Bean cake.
Yeah, bean cake, yes.
Akara, yes. One word that describes your leadership style.
Firm.
Say that again.
Firm.
Firm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
I do want to say strict, so.
No, but you don't even look strict.
I am.
If Free Recycle had a theme song, what would it be?
We are going up, we are going high. It's a song by Bears Eye.
Oh, okay.
Hi. I hope I pronounced that right.
I'll go check that out.
We are going high, we are marching on. Yeah, because we're going places. Yeah.
Okay. We are going high. I'm going high too. Yeah. So I'll go listen to that song. What's the most inspiring place you've ever visited?
That's inspiring.
Somewhere that gave you like, I can do something. I don't know. Whatever inspires you.
I've been to quite a number of places, but I think one place that actually, struck me was Mauritius. So they while interacting with people there, they have this feeling that they don't quite belong in Africa, but they're part of Africa. They are just right there in the middle of the ocean and whatnot. But what I love about them is how innovative they are. There are several companies there that are doing really, really innovative things. It's a small market, but still they've made it work for them. And it's also really just a beautiful place.
Can I be following you to some of these places? Yeah, and that brings us to the end of today. Nice having you.
Thank you. I've had a wonderful time as well.
I have.
I think now I can do... I hope I'll do podcasts now.
Do podcasts. You have an interesting story to tell, and you articulate yourself so well. I have learned so much. If you haven't been recycling, or if you've been very, very disengaged or not interested about the planet, about your environment, this is a call for you to be, because at the end of the day, it impacts us as individuals. We are the one on earth. We are the ones on this planet earth. So we have to make it work for us. And one of the ways is by being intentional about what goes up in the air, I've learned so much today. And again, this is the Charity Lounge podcast. If you're not subscribed, please click on the subscribe button, watch past videos. And if you know of anyone who is doing amazing work within the social impact space, you can send us an email or send a DM on Charity Lounge or on Instagram.